the pleasure of doing a brief interview with Robert Cottingham, coordinator at South Carolina's Youth Suicide Prevention Initiative. He and his team have been working on social media marketing. And our first question, who is your audience?
Well, youth age 10 to 24 is our primary audience, and that's specific to our grant. So we focus on them as our primary target. And then our primary sub-audience is adults who have regular contact with youth and other populations at risk. So counselors, teachers, youth pastors, I mean, there's such a range there, but we try to reach through them as much as possible, especially for the influence that they have on youth. And then, of course, because suicide is such a diverse topic, we branch out into other subpopulations as well. We make specialized posts for young veterans or LGBT youth, youth with disabilities, and really any other youth group that's at risk for suicide.
All right, and on to our next question. How have you engaged your audience in the planning process?
Actually, we have what we call a youth advisory board here. They meet sometimes twice a month, sometimes once a month, depending on their availability. They're involved in the process from the beginning. They're essentially the first focus group, and they work with us to create better ways to reach youth, and they provide us with a lot of information that we use for social media. I mean, even though social media's been around for quite a while, they're going to be more familiar with it than somebody, say, 10, 15, 20 years older. And they even make suggestions as to what platforms might work better. They're the ones who told us that Instagram is a little more popular among youth than Facebook is nowadays, something that I was completely unaware of at the time.
Great way to include the audience in here and get their feedback. Our next question is, how have you incorporated cultural considerations into your work?
Well, primarily it involves person-first language. You don't say the mentally ill, the handicapped, the disabled. You say persons or people, individuals with mental illness, or people, individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. A lot of times it's a bit dehumanizing to just be referenced as a category as opposed to a person or a demographic. So we try to stick with that person-first language. And there are other more isolating terms that we try to avoid, like the word those. Those who suffer or those who identify, because, again, it creates a sort of separation instead of inclusion. And for each demographic, if we're writing something that specific, we research terms. Obviously, we don't want to marginalize anybody by addressing them in the improper way. And then within each message, we try to stick to a certain reading level. We actually use a service called Readable.io. It's a website, and you can go there and enter your message. It'll tell you what grade level that is, and that really helps us keep things as basic as possible so that nothing is missed by any potential audience we reach.
To move on to our next question here, how did you choose the channel to utilize?
Our three platforms right now are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Between those three outlets, they all have the capability of using pictures, links, captions, etc., but it really comes down to who we're trying to reach. If we're creating a post that reaches out to, say, parents or collaborative organizations, we tend to use Facebook and post almost as long as you want to, along with a graphic element. If a post's more specific to youth, we use Instagram, which is almost treated like an image gallery of sorts. We recently did a campaign with a local organization that fights against domestic violence and sexual assault. And when we posted an image that they had us create for them, we chose Instagram as our primary push for that because, again, the picture was integral to that post. And, of course, Twitter is a nice middle ground between both audiences. Its brevity can be quite beneficial.
Great. So it's really tailoring the message for the audience there. So moving on to our next question here. How do you know you're reaching the youth? What method or methods have you used to evaluate this?
Just as much as they're involved in the beginning, our youth advisory board is also involved during and after, and they're as brutally honest as they are helpful. So if something isn't working, they let us know. They give us such in-depth feedback about what's going on, and they really give us an idea of how to improve for the next campaign. We also go through the analytical elements of each of those platforms. We have Facebook and Instagram insight and Twitter analysis, and you can find almost anything you need depending on the platform that you're using. They track the amount of followers you have, which can translate directly into the amount of people you reach. And Facebook and Instagram do a very good job of showing that web pattern and how that works. And so when you notice that certain elements in a post tend to elicit stronger responses from certain demographics, you kind of make a note of it that, all right, next time around, maybe we need to include that more because it gets more interaction. These analytical tools can help you tailor your campaign as you go along, because we can sit and plan for hours or days what we want to do with a particular campaign, and something fall through. And being able to pivot in the middle of a campaign, it's quite beneficial to be as versatile as possible.